right, we are in sunny Los Angeles today. Another episode of ADSN. Incredible guest coming on. The man, the myth, Eric Seufert is going to be on talking to us about everything going on with ChatGPT and their ads business. But before we get to the smartest guy in ad tech, I think that's a fair assessment. Big news out of what is kind of an LA-based company, Netflix, that I think it's going to have a pretty big impact on like kind of everything. Danny, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're based up in the Bay, but I think if anyone's talking about media and commanding attention, I think it's LA based. I think that's a fair assessment. But yeah, the big news this week obviously was their earnings report. I don't know if the street loved it, but some pretty big numbers just kind of off the bat. $45 billion of revenue over the year, 325 million paid members, and I think most interesting to us and people listening to this podcast, $1.5 billion of ads revenue, which is I think 2.5 times previous year. And if you do the math, that's almost 5% of total company revenue in less than 3 years, which is pretty nuts when you think about a company that never really dove into ads. And I think in their earnings report and their transcript, a lot of questions about ads. They talk a lot about their bringing in their full ad stack in-house and what that's done for their capabilities and their speed of development. They've talked about ad formats, measurement. I mean, all the stuff, James, that we talk about, that we love, that we bring guests on to talk about. Like, they clearly have an ads muscle now, and they're starting to flex it.
Yeah, they are. It's cool to see they're running the right playbook. Like, it's sort of funny. I feel like they've decided they're going to end up being a hedge garden. So they started off open, and then now they're going to go close it, and they'll leave it open to like the trade desk and a couple other people. But yeah, they're doing like all the right things, and that thing will be a monster. And even like the live stuff they're doing is sick. Like last night I watched what was it called? I tweeted about this. Star Search. There's like they relaunched Star Search. It's awesome.
Yeah. There's like live voting now, isn't there? Like they brought in like live voting, and
it's awesome. It's so good. My 6-year-old like loved it. She was like, it was like magic that she could vote. And they like clearly are catering it to millennials. So they have the judges are what's her name? Chrissy Teigen, Jelly Roll, and then Sarah Michelle Gellar, which is like incredible. Very clearly like we need to find people that like 40-year-olds actually align with.
Yeah. You're going to make your daughters watch this thing.
Yes. But it makes you realize how this platform, can be utilized. And like the other thing that's kind of crazy is I was thinking about it, like they did the whole Star Search thing and they had all these votes. And then there was like this really like emotional thing where Jelly Roll was crying and like it got a little out of hand. But I was like, they can run these things as long as they want because it's not linear, right? Like there's no end. So like they can go a little over, right? Yeah. And so like to have passive demand sitting there on the ads business for a type of thing like that is like very interesting. I don't know, like once they have an evergreen ads platform here, they're going to be able to monetize that incredibly well.
I've never even thought about that, but that's really interesting. I mean, the fact that, we watch football games and there's TV timeouts is like kind of crazy. It's like, I don't know. They were just driving down the field and we're going to take a pause where it's like, you get these authentic moments, emotional moments, and like, just let the cameras run.
Yeah. It was cool. I think they're going to crush it. And I think but it also makes you realize how, and they talked about this in the earnings call that like Instagram is coming for Netflix. Yeah. Like it's everything. The fact that I'm like watching this thing and I'm voting on it. And then they also talked about they're going to redesign the app, the Netflix app, to like be more like a social feed. It's just a giant convergence around who's going to get my time. Right. Yeah. And so like, last week we talked about the AI stuff and we're talking about it with Super. But, I think if the basis of your business is consuming someone's time, you can do so much. It's basically what these guys have figured out.
Yeah, I mean, and if you start looking at even the kind of TV app, the fact that they're promoting so heavily these podcasts now, that like
Yeah.
this is destination viewing, it's throughout the day. Mine are all sports, sports and like pop culture, and like that's just so much ad inventory. They can clip it, so I don't need to watch 60 minutes of this thing. Like they can put it everywhere. They can eventually have these quick bites. We talked about verts for Disney last week. Like Netflix could actually pull that off with the library and the content they have. It's yeah, it's pretty wild. And like you said, like they said Instagram is coming. They talk about YouTube and like how YouTube is basically TV. Like they're not talking about the traditional players that we all talk about when we think TV. They're talking about these digital players that are now encroaching on TV, which is really
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, and YouTube said, I think I saw in that article about how, they're going to get into like real premium production, right? And so like
Yeah.
everyone's becoming each other, and all of it makes me really just think that we need to make our 2026 goal. How do we get this podcast to a point where it can be on Netflix, right?
Let's
Like to appeal to like the 1,000 people
let's
who actually care
let's
about ad
manifest
media
that. Yeah,
AI.
when
Yeah.
when you watch Star Search and then your next autoplay is ADSN
Uh-huh.
on
Yep.
Netflix.
I think
All
I
right.
think we could do that. But yeah, it's an amazing platform. And I think what they're gonna do to make it more like a social feed, I think it's probably gonna work, and it's gonna cause Google to react in a funny way, and then Instagram, this Instagram TV thing.
Yeah.
Facebook had something back in the day. I think it was called Facebook Video, and it kind of bombed. And I'm curious if this Instagram TV thing is going to come with um, really made for like television content, or if like step one is just consume reels, not a TV.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things on that topic that one of the headlines this week was that it came out that Reels, I think, was like 50% of the ad revenue of Meta or something close to that. And so I think they obviously see something that like consumer attention is shifting towards what we've all kind of anecdotally seen, but they're seeing it in the data that like we're all watching vertical videos, we're watching these shorts. And so there is an opportunity maybe to bring that attention to a bigger screen and then start to pull in maybe some of the longer forms, some of the more scripted, more traditional style production. Um,
As
and
a,
forego, yeah,
I guess as a content creator yourself via the Snapchat series,
yeah.
have you seen is reels like is that the key to getting distribution? Like, are you seeing it happening like as you're posting this stuff?
I don't have enough followers, so I'm still learning this. But what it
How
seems to
many
be is
followers? How many followers do you have?
I think we're almost at 100. We're at like
Uh,
85 or something.
Is we? Are you referring to you and your daughter? Is that like a?
Me and my daughter and my son. I mean, I've got to give them credit. It's not Napchat without the napping kid.
Okay, I just didn't know how you look at the group.
Then it's
Okay.
just chat. It's Daniel
Yeah.
chatting. Uh, but no, I mean the algorithms seem to prioritize reels. That's like the discovery portion of it, whether it's TikTok or Instagram, even YouTube Shorts. And then there's retention plays. A lot of people are using carousels, images, and things like that to retain attention. But I'm clearly not there. I'm retaining 80 people. But there seems to be a pretty I mean, these people are very sophisticated marketers. It looks like they're using a funnel approach. They're using reels as top of funnel, kind of carousels, images at mid funnel, and then they're using links in their apps or call to actions in one out of every 10 videos to drive towards a brand purchase, to drive towards a education or something that they're selling, some program. But they're doing that sparingly, and they're building that trust using the reels and then the kind of image carousels.
It's interesting
Well,
because it's a kind of natural sort of segue into that news that OpenAI put out that if you discover a product via ChatGPT and it's powered by Shopify and you opt in, that they'll take a 4% cut.
mhm.
And what you're describing really is discovery based ecom
Yeah,
on Instagram, right? And today, Instagram doesn't monetize that via the transaction at
yeah,
all, right? Like if
yeah,
you were selling a program, which you're not allowed to sell some program. It's ridiculous. But if you were going to do that, I guess in this world of ChatGPT, like they're going to
They'll take a cut.
passively, yeah, they'll
Yeah.
monetize the ads, they'll monetize the
Yeah.
transaction.
I guess it's interesting though, like Instagram has to keep the creators happy. So the more they take a cut, the less creation probably occurs. Like they want those people making money because that becomes their point of distribution, and then that's ad inventory. I mean, you know it all. Whereas I guess OpenAI, ChatGPT, and the like, if you think about it, they're basically agentic influencers, right? It costs no money to create the content, right? Um, but if they can get the conversion, then I guess they take their cut. Which I don't know, 4%. I'd love to hear from some ecom people. 4% seems like a lot for just discovery. Like you're not paying that on Google. If somebody clicks through on your link, unless it's an ad, like you're not paying somebody. You're not paying Google when they click on it.
Yeah, are there examples of organic baked in fees like that? I wonder if it will boost.
Google had one
Yeah.
several years ago. I think it was like buy now or buy me button or something like that, where they were taking a commission and it was pretty high. And then they axed the whole thing. They said, we're only going to charge for ads on clicks.
Yeah.
If it's organic, like that's yours.
Yeah, that feels like the natural. Again, Seufert will have a much better point of view of this than us, but I think that's the natural endpoint here. And it's like it's funny they're rolling this out. There's that tweet I sent you that I responded to, which I'm sure the guy's a really nice guy. I have no idea. Like I don't know him personally, but he tweeted about how OpenAI doesn't know what they're doing by having this like CPM based $1 million initial IO based business. And like the joke is, if you've ever worked in these ads businesses, this is exactly where you start. Like it is like step one is high CPM, managed service, insertion order. Like you're not going to build the auction and business manager and payments and all that stuff on day one. Just like a ludicrous kind of concept. Again, I'm sure this person's really nice. I'm not trying to talk shit about
it. Thomas BCN, I've followed him for a long time.
it.
I'm sure Eric knows him. He's very, very smart on like the app world. I think he's bringing a lot of that experience into this, and I think it's just a different.
Yeah, I think I've seen a bunch of people be like, "What are they doing?" And it's like they're just doing the thing you do. Like this is just.
We just talked about Netflix. Like that is all they're doing right now. You have to buy through them or through the DSP. Like they're only high CPMs. Like it's this list.
Yeah, it's funny though because you are, and I saw Sam Elsman tweeted about this, saying that I think the API business, he said it was like $1 billion of ARR, but they're definitely like trying to assemble as much revenue as possible. Like the 4% cut, obviously the API revenue and the ads revenue. Those are all things that if you were Meta, which like, Fiji, Kevin, like that bunch of Meta people are at OpenAI, eventually what ends up happening, you just move into this actual ads business that's auction based. So I wonder if they're maybe seeing what sticks, and kind of just making a cash grab while they figure out what this ads business really looks like. Because like, to your point, the 4% thing seems kind of crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's, unlike I think features where once you roll one out, you can't take it back. Like anyone would be really happy if they roll any of these back. If they announce in a year, like, hey, no more fees, no more commission, people are going to be like, amazing. Like, let's go use OpenAI now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think they're seeing what sticks. I mean, Fiji saw this all play out at Facebook and then Instacart. Like, clearly she knows the playbook and what's happening there. And there was that, I think, a lot of analysts estimates that they're going to make, $25 billion, $30 billion in ad revenue by the end of this decade. Right. And that's 4 years to reach a $30 billion ad run rate. Like that's incredible.
You're saying run rate, annual run rate?
Yeah. I mean, if they make $25 billion in annual ad revenue by the end of this decade, in 4 years, like, I don't know, they have 1 billion weekly active users. Like it seems like you should be able to, but we'll see.
And Snap has 1 billion and they can only get to 5 billion.
Fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did think it was funny though that on the opposite side, the Google AI chief was kind of in an interview and being asked about the ChatGPT announcement on ads, and he just had this. I mean, I thought it was hilarious. He was just kind of like, "Oh, I'm surprised that they're doing ads this early. That's surprising to me. You know, we're not even thinking about ads." Um, Says the guy with the best ads business in the world ever,
Yeah.
saying they're not thinking about ads.
Yeah. The irony about the Gemini thing is that um, Amazon via Rufus, which is like their Gemini, is starting to show ads. So like, of course, Gemini is going to do this, and like strategically, it is really smart for them to hold out as long as possible. They obviously don't need to do it until after they kill ChatGPT, right? Or at least inflict as much pain as you
Yeah.
possibly can. But it is funny. You may find that people enjoy having these ads in here, and they may just have to do it.
If they can do it well. I mean, we'll get Seufert's take in just a bit. I know he's written pretty extensively about why OpenAI needs to do this, why Gemini doesn't need to do this, and like why this is all good for both. So maybe we'll get his take in a bit.
Yeah, Rufus, for what's worth, I actually really like Rufus. If anyone doesn't know, Rufus is like the Amazon chatbot thing, and I find it to be really, really helpful. Do you like not find that thing
I've
to be
never used
cool?
Rufus.
Oh my gosh!
I've not needed a shopper assistant yet, so maybe
Oh
I'll try it
no,
out.
it's awesome. If you like, I talked about this last week. I was trying to figure out what TV to buy, and it was like so good. And like it's also really good at like there'll be like two versions of the same item, but like one's $60 more, and you can't figure it out.
Yeah. Okay.
And yeah,
That's
you're like, hey
helpful.
Rufus, yeah, yeah, and
Okay,
now it has
I like it.
ads. So
All right. I
yeah,
like it. I'll
well,
check it out this week. That's my homework for this week
now
on
your homework
Pathway.
needs to be spend a lot of time with your kids and then get back to work.
Okay.
When are you
All right.
back to work?
I'm
When
working
is
on
that
that.
actually happening?
We're doing
When do
that in
you
2 weeks. So
2 weeks?
we're gonna do ADSN plus real work plus children. I'm gonna be like part of the part of you, part of everyone that's listening to this with the
Hmm.
trifecta. I guess I'm part of it now.
Do you get like a SAG card for being like a such an
if
extensive creator?
anyone knows how to do that, yeah, help me out. All right. So before we get into Sufert, I know each of us had a tweet that we saw this week that we really liked. So I'll kick it off and then we'll go to you.
Could this be
There was
like a new segment? Are we gonna be like tweet of the week? Is this like or act
I think
post of the
so. I think
week?
a tweet of the week, maybe multiple tweets of the week. Let's start slow and
Well,
build.
like our primary post needs to be
Ooh,
you can't
primary post.
Elon
Okay.
Elon doesn't like calling tweets. So yeah,
Okay. The
what's your
primary
primary
posts.
okay, primary
This is
post.
segment X.
Okay.
Um,
That's cool. Segment X. All right.
Yeah, there we go. There was no, but there was a post by Rich Greenfield and a few others talking about how Amazon this week licensed the Bond franchise, which they own, to Netflix. And if anyone doesn't know, Amazon bought MGM and their library a number of years ago for like $8 billion. They paid more money to get control of that Bond franchise. They've produced new films and new films coming out, and now they've licensed it to Netflix. Who knows for how much? But kind of brilliant on both sides. I kind of love it. Like these frenemies, Netflix recognizes the value of licensing more content, especially a franchise like Bond, and Amazon wants more eyeballs because they have this new movie coming out. So kind of a win-win.
Yeah, it's interesting how flexible Amazon is with their Prime Video strategy. I kind of respect it. There's like nothing sort of dogmatic about it.
Hmm.
So like you like at some point you buy MGM and you're wondering, okay, you're trying to make Prime Netflix, but then they have like that channels
Yeah,
approach, and this I think this which makes a ton of sense. Like get everyone nostalgic about the Bond franchise again, make it accessible on Netflix, and then that obviously will help your launch.
totally.
But it's like kind of nice that they're not just like we are going to be a pure walled garden.
Hmm.
And I think my assumption would be though that like the new Bond when it releases though has like a window first
Sure.
on
Yeah.
Prime, right? Like
Yeah.
that would be insane not to.
Yeah.
But it's cool. It's like I think because Amazon has a actually I feel like I've seen this with their ads business too. Because they come at it without like the historical baggage of like being an
Mhm.
ads business or like being a content business, they're like more fluid in their strategy, which like maybe helps them.
Totally. I mean, they're also like, unless you're paying for the ad-free version, you're not paying more for this thing. And so it's like they have to monetize it elsewhere. So it's great. Get ads, license it for a window. I mean, maybe this is the
Yeah.
new distribution model that we'll see.
Yeah, and you get paid. I'm sure Netflix is on AWS.
Yeah.
So good primary post. Great first primary post. My
There you go.
primary post is by Dev Shaw, and hopefully it's up on the screen right now. And basically talking about how the technical moat in AI is pretty much gone, and so what's going to basically be the only things that you can actually rely on as like a defensive kind of advantage is either you have a bunch of data, which is like obvious one, or distribution. And I think the reason why the distribution side is so interesting is, and actually there's another, can I have two primary posts? Because I have one that goes along with this.
The primary posts. Yeah,
My
you got
posts,
them.
yeah. Thank you. But it basically shows, so right now there's like this explosion of new products that are being created because vibe coding has made technical work so easy. And so the big issue is going to be how do you distribute these things,
Hmm.
right? And so now it kind of becomes this moment of who's going to win the distribution battle. Is it going to accrue to the walled gardens as it sort of always has, or as it has more recently, right?
Yeah.
Like time is going to basically accrue to all of these different AI tools, and then as a result, they will be rent seekers to distribute these apps.
Hmm.
Or is it that these new experiences can be so great that distribution can be, I guess, more like federated? I don't know. It's like it. I actually think it's going to be the inverse, meaning I don't think that the wall gardens are going to win this next phase. I think there's going to be so much of your time split across so many different places that the wall gardens won't be able to pull off what they pulled off on the last sort of wave. But
Mm.
it is interesting if distribution is the key. The guys who have distribution are these giants. So like, how do I get distribution if I'm some little guy?
Yeah. I mean, I like that. I think it's going to start with distribution, probably the wall gardens, the big guys, and then there's going to be have to be some players that help with discovery. Right? I mean, it was the same in the Apple and Google app stores. Like discovery has always been the issue, and we're talking you know, now orders of magnitude more apps and tools being developed since they can be using AI, and like distribution is one part of the problem, but the other is discovery. Like,
Yeah, because it'd be weird that the you think about like Claude Code or like Lovable, like those may be the new app stores,
yeah,
right? And like for them to like give up that seat to the actual app stores seems insane. So I think there's like I think we should put a pin in this one, in this primary post, and come back to it and see how it unfolds. But I think it could be leading to, if it works the way I think it's gonna work, I actually think there's gonna be kind of this golden age of distribution related tech, because you're going to have to distribute things in so many different places than you previously did,
yeah.
that there can be kind of a whole new rewiring of it. Or I could be totally wrong and Meta gets all the money.
Let's let's put a pin in this one. My bet is Meta gets a lot of the money up front, and then maybe things change. But we'll see.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. Well, let's get is Seufert a doctor? He should be like like I think
Yeah.
isn't he studying for his PhD? He's not
I
yet.
think if he doesn't have it yet, he should have an honorary doctorate or something.
Yeah.
We'll
Okay, let's
ask him.
find him.
Let's
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 ask
take
him.
a pause here, and then we'll get into it with him. Eric, welcome to the pod. We're super excited to have you here and dive into kind of some of your recent articles on the OpenAI announcement with ads, Gemini, and some of the other things you've been talking about. So welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be back. Congrats on getting it back up and running.
Yeah, we're
Thank you.
excited. Thank you for coming on
La-
episode 2.
yeah, yeah. Labor of love to get this thing back, but we're here.
Yeah, you're dealing with regulatory approval in your personal and professional life.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, man, we wanted to pick your brain on a few things. Yeah, want to talk about OpenAI, but actually wanted to some of the more recent news that you just covered actually around Substack.
Mm.
Is so like I guess maybe starting kind of there, like what is in general right now, like when it comes to, I guess, like ads and then any of these new platforms, like is there a sense now that like these platforms feel like there's a real opening to stand up all these new ads businesses? Like, can you tell like what the mentality is?
So I think there's so let me just explain what this the Substack news today was that they launched an app for Apple TV, which just aggregates a lot of the video content that their publishers have been publishing to the platform. So they moved into video kind of in earnest last year. They'd had support for video for like a number of years, but it was last year where they started um, kind of, I think, proactively encouraging their publishing network to produce video content. And then today they launched this app that aggregates it. I don't know if this is. I think this is less of an ad story and more of a short form video story. I think and really like a CTV story. I think the CTV growth story here is probably dominates the actual like Substack news. But CTV is just an incredible engagement opportunity, and short form video is what people expect, right? I mean, like there's been a behavioral shift to ingest short form video, and you have to kind of meet audiences where they are. Netflix is doing a big push with short form video and also video podcasting. But short form video is becoming a bigger part of their app experience this year, and so I think it's really just a function of audiences expect slash need short form video to sort of match the capacity of their attention spans, and you just kind of have to meet audiences where they're at. I mean, if you are a long form text only publishing platform, you're increasingly reaching a smaller and smaller audience, or sort of like fulfilling the core needs of that audience. And if you facilitate short form video, you are reaching a broader and growing audience. So I think that's kind of the bigger story there. Now, certainly they probably are going to pursue an ads opportunity there. It would make total sense to do that and have the kind of reels ads or shorts ads experience. But I feel like that's probably more of the impetus is just meeting audiences where they're at. I mean, we all saw the clip at least of Matt Damon talking about what they have to how they have to sort of adapt their screenplays to sort of placate streaming audiences. They have to repeat the plot of they have to like explicitly state the plot of the movie 3 to 4 times in dialogue, right? It can't just be this implied thing that's picked up sort of from like the ambient behaviors of the characters. And they have to just make sure that if someone's watching their second screen as much as they're watching their principal screen, that they walk away with an understanding of what happened in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that on the Netflix side, we were talking about this actually earlier today, like first of all, I mean, it seems obvious and it seems like they have to go ahead and sort of create more of that behavior. Do you have a sense of how doable that is? Like, what's your gut if they can pull that off and like turn that in? Like, can they become YouTube before YouTube becomes Netflix? Is that kind of like a little bit of the battle?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there's a little bit of a UGC element to that, which I've written about actually. Because YouTube is a CTV behemoth, right? I wrote a piece called "YouTube is a CTV Behemoth," and last year, the YouTube CEO revealed that TV is their largest form factor by watch time, which was a revelation, right? I mean, it's totally penetrated the living room. And then Netflix has to some degree poached some YouTube talent, right? Which makes a lot of sense for them because it's cheaper. A lot of the content that they're contracting is existing content. They're not contracting these creators for new content. They're just having them bring this content, which is under no sort of like exclusivity to YouTube, over to Netflix. So the porting costs are zero essentially, and then whatever they get is just upside. Yeah, my sense is so. With what was funny about what's interesting about that question is that YouTube just had the new state of the platform piece this week that they published, and they're moving more heavily into AI produced content. I mean, they want AI to play a bigger role on the platform. but they want to like avoid the slopification of it too, right? Which maybe seems that like that's going to be a sort of like very specific path to forge with kind of like a lot of pitfalls, but I think they could probably do it. So I think the question is like, how much does Netflix allow its content catalog to be influenced by UGC type stuff, which like Miss Rachel they brought over. That one I think is a little bit more unfortunate. She's got a lot of baggage attached to her just with her
Dude,
views.
it's
Uh,
crazy. Like,
yeah,
totally.
she's a
Yeah.
quite a toxic person.
Yeah.
Certainly
She
not a
better
role
get
model for
canceled.
kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, she better get canceled, like, for real. Like, it's crazy.
I would never advocate for anybody to be canceled. I think people should not listen to her because her views are
Yes,
obviously
fine.
rooted in a deeply toxic worldview.
Yeah.
But they've brought over other people too. They brought over other sort of like YouTube creators to make content for the platform, which I think makes total sense. You bring the content production cost down, and you've already got the validation of the popularity of the creator, right? It makes total sense. What I think Netflix should do is bring over a lot of the prank creators, because I mean, talk about cheap content to produce. And I mean, you could have like 15-minute episodes. I mean, look at Tires, right? Tires was so phenomenally successful. They had 15-minute episodes. They had like a great cast of comedians. I don't think that was cheap to produce, but just given the talent involved. But it proved that like there is a market on Netflix for like very short form, but not TikTok length, but like short form 15-minute episodes of comedy. Now bring over some of the like the really high profile like prank creators, like Top Notch Idiots or something. And I think you've got a phenomenal base of content that you could scale like pretty cheaply. But yeah, so I think like the question is like, how much do they allow that content catalog to be influenced by UGC, and then AI? I feel like that's probably like a bridge too far for them, but we'll see. I don't know that we'll get any like sort of AI generated or wholly AI generated content on Netflix anytime soon.
But I mean, do you think it's these bigger companies, the Netflix, the YouTubes, even the Metas, that start to advocate for exclusivity of these creators? Otherwise, I mean, creators are going to distribute everywhere. I would imagine they would distribute, like you said, they have to meet viewers where they are, so they would distribute on Substack, YouTube, Netflix, everywhere they possibly could. And so it's at some point the platform's responsibility to create some moat and say, okay, you're licensing your content to Netflix, and it's only on Netflix for 12 months. Kind of what Spotify did with Rogan, and others are starting to do with other more highly produced podcasts and videos.
Yeah, well, I mean that's what Netflix did with the video podcast series. I mean, I think if it makes financial sense for the creator. I mean, once the creator's already scaled enough, I mean, the outcome that you're probably targeting is some sort of exclusive, like 9-figure content deal. So I don't think that's necessarily like a losing proposition for anybody, assuming it works out and the content is successful and popular, and the creator makes more money than they would have publishing everywhere like they were.
Yeah, I guess maybe just a losing proposition for the Substacks and the subscale platforms trying to compete here.
Right. And I mean, we started the conversation on Substack transitioning into short form video and bringing an app to Apple TV. I am skeptical that's going to be successful.
Yeah.
And I think it's more just a proof point that the sort of text only publishing platform approach just doesn't scale. Certainly not to the extent that they need it to match the valuation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess switching gears, but to another primarily text platform. What are your thoughts on all this stuff with the OpenAI ads business? I know you've written a bunch about this, but like, yeah, what's your take kind of at least on this opening sort of move from them?
Yeah, I mean, I would have expected this to happen last year.
Yeah.
I think it probably should have. So it's going to take a while to scale this up, right? I mean, so the thing is like what they've announced so far is that it's CPM pricing, and they're sort of like accepting commitments of up to $1 million. So like this is truly like beta type scope. They're going to build out they've got to build out a whole ads manager which, you know, is certainly none of the things that they have to do are impossible tasks, and certainly everyone there has done this success. You know, like the kind of the most prominent people in the organization have done this successfully in the past. So like I fully trust that they are capable of doing this in a reasonably abbreviated time frame. Um, you know, but it reminds me of Netflix launching their ads business. I mean, we're just going to launch an MVP right now. The issue with Netflix is it took them a long time. So I think so Netflix's launch approach was fundamentally flawed because it was tethered to you know, using Xandr, and as a result of that, there were a lot of limitations on how they could implement, for instance, you know, sort of like custom placements and how they could do measurement. And so with OpenAI, my belief is, I don't think this has been like fully publicly confirmed yet. My belief is they are building like a self-serve ads manager, or at the very
Yeah, they
least, this
have
is
to.
all this tech is going to be internal. I mean, they understand that they need to do that. And it took a while for Netflix to realize that they needed to do that. It took like probably a solid 18 months, and they had to go through an entire executive reshuffle in order to start that that project in earnest, right? Which I don't think OpenAI will do. I think they'll be on the right path from the very earliest days. Um, you know, but I think ultimately it's going to be very successful. I think all they really need to do, I say all they really need to do is kind of minimizing it, but like I think they need to build out some sort of CAPI, some sort of pixel solution. And then, you know, I think that all the fears around the ads, you know, being influenced by the chatbot content will be mitigated. I mean, I think first of all, I think it's ridiculous to even view that as a necessity in the first place, because that's not the case for display, and it can't be the case for display. It's like, I mean, it's almost irrelevant. Like what you're watching on the screen is, you know, at best irrelevant. Um, you know, or I should say, at, you know, like at worst irrelevant. It's maybe there's some contextual signal gathered from what is on the screen and what you've, you know, kind of what content you've interacted with in the past. But the reality is the vast, overwhelming sort of density of the signal is driven by the information, the behavioral profiling information that the platform has about you based on your interaction with advertisers across the web and across the app ecosystem. It's not based on the interactions you've had on that platform, right? And that's what they ultimately need to achieve. And I think it's kind of silly to think that they would want to prioritize the context of the conversation, because that's first of all, in a lot of cases, there's not going to be anything to anchor to. Like if I'm asking for you know, whatever, how to change a tire, for the most part, there's probably not a lot there that you can anchor to. I mean, maybe a tire brand or something. But like the reality is, what you want to do is you want to target observable, demonstrated, short-term, recent intent, and then also all the sort of you know, known features of purchasing habits that you get from conversion signals, conversion history, right? And like I think that's a much easier way to do targeting, and a much sort of like higher fidelity way to do targeting than trying to parse out like demographic profiles or whatever, which aren't very good for targeting in the first place and don't carry a lot of signal from chat history. So I think the chat history is not going to be a great input, right? And so I think that once they can prove though that like, look, these are totally independent, like the things that you're getting served are independent of what you're talking to the chatbot with, then that'll mitigate a lot of the fears that like, oh well, the chatbot response you know, has been compromised because we need to sort of our principal customer is the advertiser and not you, right? And so I think that it's very easy to do that. I think like just as a you know, it's as a sort of like qualitative feature of the experience, it's very easy to convince the user that actually we're not informing our ad decisions based on what you're talking to the chatbot about. And in 99% of the cases, there'd be no ability to do that anyway, because there's just zero commercial intent that we can parse.
Yeah. Well, and it's not like even on Instagram, it's not like you're worried that your feed is being corrupted by advertisers. I mean, there's advertising, obviously, but like your feed is meant to personalize to you and what you
Right.
want, as opposed to like the commercial interests of advertisers.
Right,
Uh,
exactly. In that way, I mean, you get you sort of optimize engagement across, because the thing is, like, ultimately the ads are a piece of content, right? I mean, if you look at the way that Meta thinks about that, they are just another piece of content. I mean, and they determine like, what should we show another piece of, like when we're structuring this, this stream of content that would comprise like one thumb scroll, like how many ads should we insert there, and where, right? And so they see it as essentially like fungible with organic content, and they're both optimized in the same way, but they're optimized against different data sets, right? And so like in that way you optimize engagement with both, with
Yeah.
both categories of content, right? And so that's ultimately like the best way to do it. And so I think, I think that's what ChatGPT is going to anchor to. And I don't think there's any risk that, in practice, or sort of like in the experience, people believe that the actual output of the chat of the chatbot is influenced by the ads that they could attach to it. I think that won't be the case, because I think that the team there is very seasoned and experienced, and they know how to make it not the case.
Yeah. And then I guess on the other side, you've written about this, how kind of OpenAI, this is the right move, but obviously a few years, if you were there, a few years kind of late. But Gemini, Google has kind of taken the opposite position. We're not even thinking about ads. We're not inserting ads here. And you've said that that makes sense for them. So can you explain a little bit more, like why for Google you think that makes a ton of sense, as opposed to kind of your point of view on the OpenAI position on ads?
Well, so, I think that the thing is like the misapprehension here is that Google is not. So Gemini is a name for two things, right? Gemini is a name of their family of foundational multimodal models, and Gemini is the name of their chatbot. Gemini, the model, is currently being monetized with advertising. Gemini, the model, is empowering AI overviews and AI mode, both of which monetize with advertising right now. AI overviews, Google revealed in the last earnings, and I'm very excited to see what they say this earnings next week. They revealed that AI overviews monetizes at parity with traditional search, right? It's done. It's happened. The transition took place. They've shifted from certain, that's what I called Google's gambit. Can they completely overhaul, in the same way that Meta did?
Yeah.
I mean, Meta
Yeah.
completely nuts to bolts overhauled that product experience. It used to be friends and family, right? And now it's an open short form video content graph, right? It used to be friends and family. Now it's an open graph. That's a total overhaul of the core experience. Google did exactly the same thing. That was Google's gambit. Can we do that? Can we transition our search experience from a bunch of links to an AI output that has ads in it? And they did that, and it monetizes at parity. It's done. It's over. Like, that's happened, right? That's in the rearview mirror. And then AI mode is much smaller than AI overviews. AI overviews is 2 billion MAU, right? It's much bigger than ChatGPT. Now, it's not a chat bot per se. There's one sort of rendered set of content that is generated by the model. But AI mode is a legitimate chat bot experience, right? And they've got ads there, right? They've got the new direct deal product but they've already had ads. They've been testing ads since last quarter. So that's the question, is like, okay, well, will they monetize one of the Geminis with ads? They already do. They already monetize the Gemini model with ads in those surface areas. But the question is, well, will they monetize the Gemini app with ads? And the point I made is they don't need to, or like, it's not necessarily strategically optimal for them to do that right now, because they could probably bleed ChatGPT of usage as it introduces ads in what will be an immature product that might degrade the product experience. I think in success in the long term, it won't. It will augment the product experience. It'll make it better, as Instagram ads do, right? But in the very earliest days of it will probably deteriorate the product experience a little bit, because the ads won't be that relevant. They'll be clunky. They're going to have to iterate a few times on the format. Right, it's going to take time to get to where they need it to be, to where it does augment the experience. I do believe they can get there, but in the interim, Google could strategically choose to under monetize the Gemini chatbot in order to be a destination for people to flee to, right? And so, and again, like, my point is that when done well, when done properly, personalized advertising augments. It makes the product experience better. Right? It's good for everyone. It's a win-win. It's win for users, it's win for publishers, win for advertisers, right? But it takes some time to get there. And Ben Thompson made this point too, that like if they had introduced that a couple years ago, they'd already be through the awkward teenager phase, right? But they're not, and they're launching that at a time when they're in a very intense competition with Gemini on the basis of the quality of the model that affects the output of the chatbot. And so it's a very obvious and easy thing to do. There's zero switching costs for a user to move to Gemini, the chatbot, right? But those people are still already using Google search, which is monetized via Gemini, the model, through the AI overviews and the AI mode, right? So Google has just landed in this like very strategically advantaged position, right? Of not ever really ever having to monetize Gemini, the chatbot, because they're already making money on Gemini, the model. And by the way, we're not even talking about the revenue from Google Cloud, right? Making it available from Google Cloud, having the ability to very easily integrate with the model, and then have the enterprise value be extracted there. So which OpenAI has, but it's a very small percentage of its revenue, right, relative to Anthropic or whatever. So my sense is like, if they had been more proactive, they'd probably be in a better position from a competition standpoint.
Do you think the news that ChatGPT is going to do basically the affiliate model with Shopify, like the 4%,
Yeah.
is that, I read that as kind of to Thompson's point, like if they would have had this ads business up a couple of years ago, they wouldn't probably even be doing this right
No,
now.
they wouldn't.
Right?
And
Like,
I think they're going to abandon it. I think independent, I wrote a piece, agentic commerce is a mirage. What I meant was, the point of that piece is that agentic commerce will be a new consumer norm. I have no doubt about that, but it's all going to be embedded on the retail platforms themselves. Independent third-party agentic commerce is a mirage. I think this is going to go nowhere. I think the 4%, who can pay that? What e-commerce retailers do you know that could just absorb a 4% margin hit? None.
Yeah.
None of them will want to do that. That is the death. That is the nail in the coffin for instant commerce on ChatGPT. And and we knew that, though, by the way. They said when they launched instant checkout that there's going to be a fee. I mean, we never thought it was going to be free, right? They said that. They just didn't reveal what it is. But 4% for Shopify retailers, they can't afford that. They can't absorb that. And by the way, not be in control of it. And you might say, well, you pay more in margin for ads. Yeah, but you control that. Yeah. You set the bid. You set the budget. You can't control this. What happens if you lose money on that? What happens if it dominates your business? What happens if that cannibalizes a lot of other discovery? And so you lose that 4%, and that becomes actually the dominant form of discovery. That could kill your business. No one can afford that.
Yeah, I'm happy you agree with that, because we were like, what the hell were they thinking?
No, well, no. What I saw on Twitter was insane. People saying, oh, only 4%. What a steal. Are you joking me? Yeah. So half of sales tax? Imagine if you had if sales tax in a state, it was revealed that it was 1.5xing. You might not sell in that state anymore. You say, I can't afford to sell in that state anymore. Well, we just found out for the entirety of the United States, essentially, that sales tax 1.5x or not depending on the state it's at. But you get my point. Like, there's a new tax that's just been applied to all of the sales generated out of ChatGPT. Why would anybody support that when you could just go straight to the ads model and control it? They launched ads. I can do the better thing, the more controllable, scalable thing.
Yeah, it's insane. I guess before we bounce, what's your take kind of like on? So you look at the rollout around obviously these ChatGPT ads, obviously the Gemini thing. I think the way you're talking about it makes so much sense. Where it's just like basically indirect monetization of it. What's going to happen to like Perplexity? I know like they had their ads business, they kind of got out of it. Is this all like? Do you get a sense right now that it's going to become this 2-horse race? And then also like, what's your take on how Meta maybe reinserts itself on this stuff? Because it feels like they sort of lost the script a bit as well.
Well, we'll see. I mean, so Boz was at Davos and he said that their new family model, or their new model is very performant and sort of better than Llama 4. We'll see. I mean, TBD. I guess they're using it internally, but yeah. I mean, I don't know about Perplexity. It always felt like it was just a very thin wrapper, and I kind of questioned the use case of the product. Right? Comet never really went anywhere. ChatGPT Atlas never really went anywhere. I mean, I think these companies in a lot of ways were just throwing stuff at the wall and hoping something sticks. Perplexity. It's just if Google. Perplexity essentially was AI overviews, And now AI overviews exists with 2 billion MAU, by the way, and Perplexity is, some tiny fraction of that, right? So I don't know. It's very difficult when you get these very large. I think the thing is fundamentally you have to think about AI as probably being just functionality that applies to an existing surface area. And if that's the case, then it's very hard to launch a new product to compete with the largest incumbents. And I don't think that's a monopoly issue. I think that's just a, well, these are successful products issue, and you have to try to catch up across every dimension, not just the AI piece, which is going to be very difficult. So it's like not just like, well, can I launch an AI search engine? Can I launch a search engine that's better than Google, which has AI component into it, right? Which has an AI component applied to it. So like my sense is like that's really what you're thinking about when you're thinking about AI. It's like the application of AI to a product. And so when you talk about competing, it's like competing with these very large existing incumbent products, not outmaneuvering them with this sort of like a novel new technology. Because A, if it's a feature layer, then they can do it too, and B, they're probably better at doing it than you are because they're very large and they have the best people in the world working on developing the models, underlying models, which they can then access for free. I mean, for just inference cost.
Yeah. I mean, I think we'll keep an eye on, as you said, the Google earnings, what they kind of share with kind of AI overviews, with Gemini, the progress they're making, maybe strategic shifts. We're excited to read your take on that next week or in a few weeks. And Eric, thank you for jumping on. We'll have to have you back once all these earnings reports are out and your takes are more solidified.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Take care. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, man.